There is something running in the background of your mind right now, a process you didn't consciously start, that has been quietly shaping every decision, every reaction, every mood you've experienced today. You didn't ask it to run. You probably don't even notice it most of the time. But it is there, steady and tireless, sorting through thousands of memories, projections, and comparisons every single hour. And here's what very few people ever stop to consider. That process has a filter, or rather, it's supposed to. Most of us have never installed one. What you're about to discover is that a verse most Christians have seen printed on greeting cards and coffee mugs is not inspirational decoration. It is, as neuroscience has only recently begun to confirm, a precise architectural blueprint for what that background process is allowed to build inside your mind. Not metaphorically, not spiritually in some vague feel-good sense, literally, structurally, at the level of neural circuitry. Stay with me here, because this changes everything about how you read Philippians 4:8. If you've ever ended a day feeling mentally exhausted without doing anything particularly demanding, you've already felt the weight of what we need to talk about. You sat at your desk, or drove your car, or stood in the shower, and your mind was anywhere but there. Running old arguments, rehearsing conversations that haven't happened yet, scanning the horizon for threats you can't name, replaying the things someone said 3 weeks ago as if your brain has decided it needs one more review before filing it away forever. Oh, and here is what makes this so quietly devastating. You didn't choose any of that. You didn't sit down and say, "I'd like to spend the next 40 minutes anxious about something I can't control." It just happened. It keeps happening. And for many people watching this right now, there's a layer of spiritual shame beneath the mental exhaustion, because they've been told that if they just had enough faith, their mind would be at peace. So now they're anxious about being anxious. Let me say something clearly before we go any further. Your mind is not broken. Your brain is not failing you. You are not spiritually weak. What you are experiencing is a biological system doing exactly what it was designed to do. And what it needs is not condemnation. What it needs is a filter. A real one. The kind Paul described 2,000 years ago without ever using the word neuroscience. Let's talk about the science first, because understanding this changes the way the verse lands. Neuroscientists call it the default mode network, and understanding what it does may be the single most important thing you learn about your own mind this year. The default mode. Network, or DMN, is a collection of interconnected brain regions that activates when you are not focused on a specific external task. In other words, it's what your brain does when it's idling. When your attention isn't locked onto something in front of you, the DMN takes over. And here's what it does. It mind wanders. It time travels. It simulates social scenarios, anticipates future threats, revisits past events. It constructs narratives about who you are and what your life means. Researchers used to think the resting brain was essentially inactive, a brain doing nothing. They were wrong. The default mode network consumes an enormous amount of metabolic energy. When you're at rest, your brain is working harder in some ways than when you're solving a focused problem. And the content that fills that default mode network activity, it's not random. It's shaped by what you repeatedly attend to, by the inputs you allow, by the patterns you've reinforced over years and decades. Think of it this way. Your brain is a living architecture. Every thought you've ever repeated has worn a groove. Every pattern of attention has laid down a pathway. Neuroscience calls this long-term potentiation, the process by which neurons that fire together wire together. To pathways that get used become faster, more efficient, more automatic. Pathways that don't get used atrophy. Which means the mental landscape your default mode network wanders through when you're at rest. The neighborhoods it gravitates toward, the rooms it opens, the anxieties it keeps on rotation. That landscape was built, brick by brick, repetition by repetition, input by input. This is not a design flaw. This is an extraordinary feature of neuroplasticity, the brain's lifelong capacity to reorganize its own structure based on experience and attention. The architecture can be changed, new pathways can be built, old ones can fade. But here's the thing nobody tells you. It doesn't happen automatically, and it doesn't happen randomly. It happens through deliberate, repeated, directional input. Now, let's open the book. Paul wrote Philippians 4:8 from a Roman prison cell in chains, with execution a realistic possibility, which means the peace he was describing wasn't circumstantial. Read that again slowly. This is not a man writing from a beach house about positive thinking. This is a man writing from captivity, telling people how to experience peace that surpasses understanding. And he doesn't point them toward their circumstances. He doesn't say, wait until things get better. He says, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. 8 categories, 8 filters. Written by a man who had every reason to let his default mode network spiral. Surface readers have treated this verse as a cheerful suggestion, think nice thoughts, look on the bright side. But that is not what Paul wrote. The Greek word translated think about is logizomai. It does not mean a passing glance. It means to calculate, to inventory, to give continued, focused, deliberate consideration to something. It's an accounting term. Paul is not saying, try to notice the good things occasionally. He's saying, audit your mental input. Run your thoughts through this ledger. What gets entered into this account determines the architecture of your interior life. And what does he list? True, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, praiseworthy. Not just positive, not just pleasant. These categories have substance, they have weight. True over false, noble over trivial, pure over corrupt, lovely over ugly. Paul isn't giving you a mood board. He's giving you a filtration system, a specific, categorical checklist for what your default mode network is allowed to use as building material. This is where neuroscience and scripture converge in a way that should stop you cold. The brain's default mode network builds its wandering landscape out of what it has been repeatedly given. Paul's filtration system, true, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, praiseworthy, is essentially a prescription for what to give it. Not once, not on good days. As a trained, repeated, intentional practice. Romans 12:2 uses the phrase, the renewing of your mind. The Greek word for renewing is anakainosis, a compound word that implies ongoing, continuous renovation, not a one-time event, a persistent restructuring. Neuroplasticity uses almost identical language. The brain does not rewire itself in a moment. It rewires itself through repetition across time. Paul was describing a neurological process before the tools existed to image it. Now here's where we turn this from understanding into transformation. What we're going to do right now is train your default mode network using the exact 8 categories Paul listed. And we're going to start today, not someday. This practice doesn't require an app. It doesn't require a particular time of day. It requires your attention and your willingness to be consistent when it feels like nothing is happening. Because here's the truth about rewiring. The early stages are invisible. You won't feel different on day 3. You may feel frustrated on day 7. Around day 14, many people experience what I'd describe as a low-grade resistance, an irritability with the practice, a sense that it's not working, a temptation to stop. That resistance is not failure. That resistance is what neurons firing against established pathways actually feels like. It means you're doing it. Here's the practice. Every morning, before you reach for your phone, before you move into the logistics of your day, take 5 minutes. Just 5. And run your mind through Paul's 8 categories as questions. What is true about my situation right now? Not what feels true, not what fear says is true. What is actually, verifiably, demonstrably true? Write it down if you need to. Name it. Give it language. The truth your brain can hold is always smaller than the anxiety it generates around uncertainty. Naming the truth shrinks the threat. What is noble here? What has weight and dignity in my life right now? This could be a person, a responsibility, a commitment you're honoring. Nobility is not grandiosity. It's the quiet weight of something that genuinely matters. What is right about what I'm doing? Not perfect, right? Where are you walking in alignment? Where are you choosing the harder thing because it's the true thing? Let your brain register that. What is pure? What in your life is uncomplicated, clean, without hidden agenda? A friendship, a moment of genuine worship, the satisfaction of work done honestly. Let your mind rest there for a moment, not sprint past it searching for the next problem. What is lovely? Not just beautiful, but lovely, which carries a sense of warmth, of something worth drawing near to. What in your actual life today carries that quality? Outing what is admirable? Who around you is doing something worth respecting? This question alone can transform how you move through your relationships. When you train your default mode network to scan for the admirable, it stops defaulting to the irritating. What is excellent? Where in your sphere is something being done with mastery, care, or genuine quality? Let your attention rest on that rather than the 10 things that aren't working. What is praiseworthy? Not just what you want. What deserves gratitude? Not forced positivity. Real acknowledgement of what has been given. 8 questions, 5 minutes, every morning. Here is what happens at the neurological level. Every time you direct your focused attention through these 8 categories, you are activating those pathways. You're not just thinking thoughts. You're firing neurons along specific routes. And as those routes get activated repeatedly, they become faster, more automatic, more accessible. Your default mode network begins to have new material to work with. When your mind wanders, and it will wander because that's what minds do, it starts wandering into different neighborhoods. Not because your circumstances changed, because the architecture did. By day 7, the questions start to feel more natural. By day 14, you'll notice your brain occasionally flagging something in your day as true or lovely or admirable, without being prompted. That's the pathway becoming automatic. By day 21, people around you may begin to notice a shift in how you respond before you do. By day 30, the default mode network that used to idle through anxiety and rehearsed conflict has a new default setting, not perfect, not healed of everything, but genuinely different, measurably more stable, more available for actual life, because less of your mental energy is being consumed by the maintenance of fear-based architecture. This is what Paul meant. Not a coffee mug verse, a surgical instruction for ongoing mind renewal. Consistent over intense, faithful over dramatic. One repetition at a time. Let's close with something that anchors everything we've covered. Not just as information, but as instruction your mind can begin acting on immediately. Father, we come to you with minds that have been built by everything we have attended to. Willingly and unwillingly, you across years of living in a world that offers no shortage of noise and anxiety and fear. And we recognize today, maybe for the first time in this way, that you gave us a blueprint, that the Apostle Paul, writing from chains, described the precise practice by which a mind is renewed. Not escaped from, renewed, restructured, made into a place where your peace, which surpasses understanding, actually has room to stand. So we commit today not to perfection, but to the practice. 8 categories, 5 minutes, every morning. We will ask what is true, and let the truth be smaller than our fear. We will ask what is noble, and let dignity have weight again in our minds. We will ask what is right, and let ourselves register the moments we are walking in alignment. We will ask what is pure, and rest there instead of racing past. We will ask what is lovely, and draw near to it. We will ask what is admirable, and grow in gratitude for the people around us. We will ask what is excellent, and let mastery and care be visible to us. We will ask what is praiseworthy, and let the answer be spoken aloud, even when it's quiet. Renew our minds, Lord, not all at once, day by day, repetition by repetition, the way you designed them to be renewed. If you're committing to this practice, 8 questions every morning for the next 30 days, drop the number 30 in the comments right now. Not for me. As a declaration to your own mind that you're beginning, that you're choosing the architecture, that what controls your thoughts from this day forward has a new filter. The world around you may not change today, but you will, and that changes everything.